This is the review for the end of the Unit 4 exam. So we're going to start with miscellaneous learning. So we start with latent learning. So for those of you listening at home, I'll just repeat what the kids in class say because I just want this to be as normal as possible, even though I look like an idiot. Okay, what is latent learning? What does latent mean? Later, potentially, not exactly.
Oh, isn't it like with the rat, like in the maze where they, like, just, they didn't have them, for a specific purpose, they just, like, had him walk around, and when they actually had it for a specific purpose, he was able to do a lot quicker.
Good. So Tony brought up, here's the experiment that shows latent learning. We take a mouse, and we put him in a maze. There's my mouse. And we don't tell him to do anything. We just let him be in there. And he wanders all over and does whatever he wants to, right? Then what we do is we test him. So we take the exact same maze, and the rat is a terrible maze. I don't want to hear any comments, right? We take that same mouse or rat, and we put him at the beginning, and we put food at the end of it, and that mouse will be able to complete that maze with very few mistakes, and much fewer mistakes than a mouse that had never been in it before. So if we took, that was mouse A, this is mouse B, that mouse is going to get lost and take way longer to figure it out. And so that shows us latent learning. That mouse was not, mouse A, the green one, was not actively trying to memorize this maze. They were just wandering around. And the process of doing that, they learned a bunch of stuff. And when given a task, that underlying subconscious learning pops up and allows them to complete a task easier. So lots of times you guys have this in class, right? Where all of a sudden you remember something and you're not really sure why you remember it, but you're good to go. That's that latent learning underneath. Understand? Good. Pardon me. Next topic. Cognitive map. Say that again? Retracing your steps. Good. Cognitive maps are the idea that in your head, I'll try and do this and we'll see how I am. Let's see here. There's my cognitive map. Right? In my head, I have a general map of my house and the Dairy Queen. So if you took, and here's 15th Street, right? So there's General Sieben that comes down, and here's all that stuff. In my head, there's this map that exists not just for content, but for physical structures. So if all of a sudden catastrophe struck and 61 was out of commission, I could still find a way to get to the Dairy Queen. Make sense? Now I'm hungry. Okay, so that's miscellaneous learning. So those are things that exist kind of over the top of all of those other three models. So now we get to stress. Stress and bacterial issues. What we're really talking about with stress is the idea that you have a brain and a body, and what your brain does will affect your body for health. Really, this comes about because of what? There's your brain, right? When stress happens, what does your body do? Good. So it floods norepinephrine and epinephrine, right? And that's that whole fight or flight mode, right? It activates the amygdala, which releases a lot of stuff that we associate with adrenaline, okay? And so when that happens, our body is basically fighting stress. If you think about these as like, and again, I'm trying for the people at home, so I know this is different than what I usually do, but if you think about these two things as like soldiers that go out and fight stress, right? Here's the bad guys. That's not racist because I used black. I'm just using different colors, right? So here we have, this is the stress army here. Right? I hope Jesse Green watches this someday. Okay, so here we have this. When they're busy fighting stress, inside your body, you have bacteria and viruses. And so if all of your troops are out fighting them, well, then they can't fight this stuff. That's the biggest thing we want to see about this. In addition, we know that when you do this, or when you get angry, when you're type A personality, you definitely create difficulties for what organ? Your heart. So, if we want to think about it that way, you think about the idea of you get angry, you have a stressor, and all of a sudden your heart starts pumping and beating and all that kind of stuff, and you create more and more stress for yourself. It'll lead to high blood pressure, which leads to coronary heart disease, which leads to premature death. Psychophysiological illnesses is really the whole idea that when these guys are here, these guys take over. Okay? Emotion focused versus problem focused coping. Good. Problem focused. So problem focused equals solution. And the solution can come in one of two ways. What are the two ways you can use problem focused to solve a problem? Not exactly. Not exactly plan for it. No, that's emotion focused. So Ross says talking about it. That's what emotion focused is. You talk about it. This is called tend and befriend from the test. The whole idea that, oh, I'm so sad, let's talk about this together and we feel better, because we can't problem focus. Good, so we have two options. One is you change yourself. In other words, is this a problem? No. This is not a stressful thing. Are there teachers for the last day of school for seniors that do not think it's stressful? Yeah, not many, but there are some that are like, well, this is not a big deal. So that's this. They've changed themselves so that this is no longer a stressor. It just disappears. There are teachers, though, that will, good. So then they change environment. In other words, I'm going to be a Nazi, I'm going to take away everything, and we're going to punish and punish and punish kids to try and get them to stop doing it. So, problem focused, we're going to fix it, either by making it disappear because of it only exists in my own world, or making it disappear because of the environment. I'll change whatever is causing the problem. And we could say both of these, by the way, are what's causing the problem. It's only a problem to you if you think it's a problem. It's only a problem in the environment if you think it's a problem. So you can either solve yourself or solve the environment. Emotion focused is going to be focused on, I can't solve it, so I'm going to talk about it and at least feel better. What is managing then? Say that again.
Finding outlets for your stress.
Good, finding outlets for your stress. So this battle is going on. And talking about it, emotion focus, well, that's not going to do me any good, because all my friends are angry too. So if I go talk to other teachers about the last day, all crazy angry, right? So that's not going to help. And I am helpless to either change, whoops, I don't need change, either to change myself about it. I would disagree with that, by the way. I can change my attitude about it. Or let's just say I am helpless about that. So this is going to be a stress I can't take care of. What I'm going to do is I'm going to manage my stress. What are ways we can manage our stress? Good. Exercise. Meditate, and I'm going to put a slash here. Prayer or religion. Yep. And so that's going to be the biggest thing. So what we've seen is a lot of impact on your lifestyle based on how you adapt to the environment around you. So here's what we really know. When you exercise, what happens to stress? We have a decrease. When you meditate, when you pray, what happens to stress? It decreases. Even though it still exists, your way of coping with it, your way of managing it, makes it healthier for you. The last things that we have on here, stress and ailments, we understand that basically anything that is a virus or a bacteria, is that what a bacteria looks like? I hope so. I have no idea. It's been a long time since I was in biology. So we're going to say that's a bacteria. Anything that is a bacteria or a virus, anytime you are stressed, those ailments will be made worse. People don't die from AIDS, they die from pneumonia. Right? People don't die from AIDS, they die from the flu. Their body is so busy fighting AIDS that they're weakened for those virus and those bacteria. If you add stress to it, well, then you're just depleting everything. The last thing that macrophage and lymphocytes is really just two things that when we spend energy producing our troops to fight off stress, we're not producing producing troops to fight off this. Those are just two examples of it. Any questions on stress? Good. General adaptation syndrome is just really this. So you have X, that's our stressor, right? Because we've identified it as stress, otherwise we wouldn't be in this syndrome. We've identified a stressor. Our first reaction is alarm. You can write alarm if you want. This is a really grumpy guy. Shut up. This isn't art class. Right? So you got a really grumpy guy. You're alarmed. And then you try to resist this, so you fight it off as much as you can. And then you have exhaustion because you fought as much as you can and you can't do it anymore. When do you get sick? Good. You've already done all this. You've used all your energy to fight everything off. Now you've got exhaustion at the end. Anything else on that? Good.